a few minutes, we report on why the Queen's speech sparked protests in central London. And the German government is sued for hosting the high-tech heart of the US drone program. More on that in a few minutes. Five people, including an 11-year-old girl and her father, were killed when the eastern Ukrainian town of Golovka was shelled on Tuesday. RT's crew travelled to the scene and sent back this exclusive footage.
Сыночка моя! Сыночка! Господи! Господи! Как мне это все пережить? Как мне это все пережить? Кому? Здесь нет даже ополченцев! Какие ополченцы?
Кажется, я ее знаю. Она жила у нас на этом, вот тут, наверное. И кто это? Ее Светка звать.
Well, Golovka is in a region controlled by anti-government forces who claim Kiev's military was behind the attack. Locals also say the mortars came from the direction of army positions. However, Ukrainian officials are pinning the blame on the self-proclaimed republics. RT's Roman Kosarev reports.
The house is completely destroyed. It's been turned into rubble, basically. So we're talking about heavy artillery that was used here. Now, this is all happening despite the fact that both sides of the conflict have agreed on the withdrawal of heavy arms. Obviously, this is not the case here. The father and his daughter, only 11 years old, they were right in this house when the shell landed.
Она говорит: Юра, я ж до Юрки, это ж Юрка, я с ним выучился, мы в школе вместе учились, я ж к нему. Я кинулся, руку раз, а у него рука оторвалась.
The shaky truce that's been in place here in the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic has been violated quite frequently over the last few weeks, and both sides are blaming each other for the violation of the ceasefire.
Well, international monitors have inspected the site of the shelling. European security experts confirm the attack was carried out by heavy artillery, but stopped short of stating who was behind it. We spoke to the OSCE's special monitoring mission in Ukraine.
The shrapnel was consistent with what's called 122mm artillery, so this is clearly weaponry banned under the Minsk packages. In this ceasefire, which we have labeled as quite fragile, civilians are taking the hardest toll, and these are very randomly fired shells.
Well, the OSCE couldn't say who fired the shells, but report the attack came from the north-northwest and used heavy artillery. Well, let's take a look then at a map of the current situation on the ground in eastern Ukraine. Let's have a look at the conflict zone. Well, this is Golovka, which is where the shell struck. Now, it's on territory controlled by the anti-government forces here in orange. The bombardment coming from the location pointed out by the OSCE suggests the shells could have been fired from Kiev army positions in the blue and the yellow, but that hasn't yet been confirmed. That's as Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko promised to declare martial law in the country if the shaky truce fails. Meanwhile, Kiev's key ally seems to know very little about the recent shelling, as RT's Gane Chichikan found out during a US State Department briefing.
Are you aware that the Ukrainian army has used heavy artillery in residential areas on a number of occasions in recent weeks? And how is that consistent with the Minsk agreements that everybody should abide by?
You've cited reports with which I'm unfamiliar, so I'm not going to comment on them.
How closely do you follow
yes.
with what's happening in eastern Ukraine? Do you read daily reports or only what the Ukrainian government is telling you?
Look, as I've said, the OSCE plays a monitoring role on the ground, and if you look at the OSCE's reports,
they do report about those shellings.
They also report the violence that I've described, which continues on the Ukrainian side of the ceasefire lines. And again, the primary source of violations of the Minsk agreements and the ceasefire come from the separatists on the Russian side.
More news are coming your way after the break, including the mystery of the large sinkholes that have appeared near the Ural Mountains in Russia.